Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lightgun back at it in the lab. So today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about light guns and some of the concerns that I've had in the community. A lot of the verbiage that is being used and some of the advertisement and propaganda with some of the light guns coming into the market. And this isn't a knock on any one particular company. I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts, my concerns of some of the things that I've noticed going on in the community as some of these new light guns come out into the marketplace. So, as a point of reference, the top left, that is Retro Lizard. He is using the AE light gun on Pistolero, my Pi 4 image that I released to the community. He is playing House of the Dead. Top right, we have the new One Shot. There's a Kickstarter. I did a video on that a few hours ago. You guys can check out that to get a little bit more information. This one's going to be a little different with that particular gun because it's promising laser dot accuracy, and I'll get into that in just a few more minutes. The bottom left is my video when I was at Kong's house. This is the Send-In light gun recoil version. I did a video on that back in May. So that is that video down there. And on the bottom right, that is Ray from Arpeg Electronics using the Gun 4 IR. So again, today's video, we're just going to kind of clarify some things because there's been a lot of confusion and things mentioned in the community in regards to light gun technology. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. All right, so here we have some of the top light gun technologies currently in the market, and then of course one of them will be coming out. Hopefully, if the Kickstarter is successful, will be coming out. But this is just a quick scenario. I just wanted to sit back a little bit and talk to my subscribers about my concerns about the advertisement of a lot of these light guns and what's going on in the community. So again, we have the AE light gun, we have the Gun 4 IR, we have the Send-In, and then of course you guys know there's also Aim Track as well as several other light guns out there, the Dolphin Bar. One of the concerns that I have primarily will speak from the advertisement standpoint. A lot of these guns are pretty much, all of them in some cases, all promise that it works on PC. Another statement that is made in advertisement with a lot of these light guns is some of them will say, well, they're Linux compatible, or that it'll work for Retropie, or it'll work on Android, or whatever the case might be. The problem with that statement saying something, and this isn't again a knock on any one particular company, this is just something that I've noticed over time, is that a lot of these guns and pieces of technology will claim that something works on Retropie, PC, or Linux. And all of those, I'm here to tell you, are very vague, open ended statements that really aren't concrete. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of the light gun technology is based on its reliability, on how it works directly with a particular emulator. For example, I've seen a lot of these comments in the groups. Some people say, hey, well, it works for Linux, it should work for Retropie. Well, if it works for Retropie, it'll work for the Pi 3 or it'll work for the Pi 4. Or if it'll work for PC, then I can get it to work for a particular game. Well, I'm going to tell you why that's false. Number one, no light gun or piece of hardware ever directly interfaces directly with PC, nor does it work directly with Linux, nor does it work directly with Retropie. What should be said, or what should be the main concern, and I've actually talked to some of the developers about this, is what emulators does it support? Because it's the emulator that's talking to that piece of hardware. For example, a lot of you who have the current Aim Track gun, it worked with Retropie 3B Plus. And again, that was the Retropie 3B Plus, but keep in mind the primary emulators that those guns were programmed to work with was Advanced MAME 1.4 and MAME for all. And neither one of those emulators are working really well with Retropie, which is why the aim track gun doesn't really work with the Pi 4. Now, it may work with the SNES emulator or something of that nature, but if you are using an arcade ROM set, you're not going to have some functionality because it doesn't work. And I really respect the fact that when AimTrack released the gun, they didn't promise any type of Linux compatibility. In fact, that was made by a lady named Katie Snow, who I've been in contact with. She's been really busy, and I really haven't been pushing the issue because there's been a lot of new light guns and stuff coming out. But the Linux software to have it really run with Retropie, for example, to make sure that it worked with MAME for All and Advanced MAME 1.4, that was some program by somebody directly in the community. That was just like, hey, your homie next door making it work. Now, the last time I did talk to Katie, she did have a couple of things working with the aim track, with the arcade ROMs on the Pi 4. But again, that is a service being offered by somebody in the community, and it was not directly from the manufacturer because they can't guarantee that it will work because there was no drivers for it. Another thing that I definitely want to point out, we'll go take a look at the Sending light gun also at the bottom. And again, this is another light gun that earlier on in its developments, and even now, another vague statement, says, "Hey, it works for RetroPie or there's Linux compatibility." And that's true again to the extent, but remember when the Sending light gun first came out, the intentional or the recommended purpose for its use originally was Advanced MAME 1.4, which doesn't work on the Pi 4 with RetroPie. And so what happened was Andy Senden, when he created the gun, he had to start hacking MAME 2016 with that particular emulator in order to get it to work. Because again, it was designed to work with the Advanced MAME 1.4, probably MAME for all or some of the other things or whatever. But again, since that emulator does not work on the Pi 4 with RetroPie for the most part, there had to be some adjustments made. So as you guys can begin to see exactly where I'm going with this, regardless if a gun can work on a interface, whether it's RetroPie, whether you want to say it's Linux or a PC, there are specific emulators or specific games that have configuration issues. Again, another game that I was playing a few months back, there was a Bug Hunter game that is on PC. I believe it's the Steam version of Bug Hunter. I know the guys over at Arcade Wizards are familiar with this, had me test it out to see if the send-in would work, and it wouldn't. And again, send-in works on PC, Gun 4 IR works on PC, MAME, no, I'm sorry, not MAME, but the Dolphin Bar works on PC. We also know the AE Light Gun works for PC. Again, those are advertisements saying that it does work, but keep in mind, this particular version of Buck Hunter does not respond to mouse controls or directional input. It would only respond directly to an actual mouse and not mouse movements using a light gun. So here's the confusion with that. Does that work on PC? Yeah, all the guns that I just listed for you does work on PC. But that doesn't cover in a general sense all the possible games that are out there that have different forms of interfaces which may prevent that specific gun working with that specific game, which basically comes back down to the emulator. Again, a lot of these light guns, even though let's say for example my pistolero image, most of those games that I have on there are running MAME 2003, MAME 2010, MAME 2015, and a couple of other arcade emulators. But I can't remember, but none of them that all those light gun games that I've mentioned to you work with Final Burn Alpha or maybe some of the other emulators. I believe there's also some other Sega Genesis emulators out there. Even the Send-In won't work with, or the Gun 4 IR. You have to use a specific emulator in order for it to work. Again, so that brings us back to the statement, hey, this worked for PC. Hey, this worked for RetroPie. Hey, this works for Linux. That's a very open-ended, vague statement because, again, your operation to get your hardware to work is based upon the emulator and not the front end or the software that you're using to plug your, or the hardware that you're using to plug your device into. Which brings me back to another point. So another point is I haven't seen any videos that really determine the accuracy of the dolphin bar. I've never done it myself. I do have a couple of tutorials with the dolphin bar, and you also have to keep in mind too, for a lot of you who may not know, is there is the possibility and the capability to improve light gun accuracy for your devices by manipulating the emulator. One of those forms is, I know Andy Sinden did it with the MAME 2016 emulator in order to get the Sinden gun to work. But there's some additional tweaks that you could do in the emulator. A lot of people don't talk about it, probably because they don't know about it, or you just want something that's more or less plug and play compatible. But I do know that when you use the Sending Light gun on Retropie, you can go in and manipulate the gun as far as the cursors and stuff. And let me bounce over here really quickly because some of you are familiar with the Sending software. So let's go ahead and take a look at the screen. And so we're talking a little bit about accuracy. But here's a situation where even if you have a TV, or let's say somebody sets up settings for you, I've had some people comment on my video. They say, "Hey, Keely, I see you're releasing a new Retropie image with your light guns. Is it going to be pre-configured?" Yes and no. You can pre-configure a light gun to the best of your capabilities, but keep in mind your TV is going to have a different refresh rate. Some of you may have 240 hertz, some of you may have 120, some of you may have 60 hertz, and then again, some of you may have a bigger TV or a smaller TV. I personally have a 65-inch TV, and so again, here, just looking at the sending software, even as accurate as the sending software is and the sending gun, there's still integers and parameters in here where you have to go through and manually adjust something if it's off a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. Now, that's not laser dot pinpoint accuracy because this is something that you can manipulate within the software itself to tell the cursor or tell the spot exactly where you are. And a lot of people, you guys already know this, but this is something you can also do within the Retropie image itself with some of the emulators. You can go through the configs and actually change some of these settings. Another quick example, I just want to show you guys something really quickly. This is my Razer software here. This is my Death Adder. And I posted this video on my personal Facebook page the other day. So this is equivalent to the Sendin software because this is a software calibration for my Razer Death Adder mouse. Now, this isn't a light gun, but keep in mind, all light guns respond to the same functionality as a regular mouse. Now, fortunately, this software doesn't interfere with sending. It doesn't interfere with Gun4 IR, whatever. This is proprietary to its own hardware use. But this is where I'm going with this. This is my Razer Death Adder. I think this is like a $130 mouse. If you go to calibration, I can select default surface. I can select a Razer destructor, and then of course you can add in different surfaces as well as far as the performance. So I can also change my DPI. The DPI allows my mouse to move either faster. As you guys can see there, my mouse is moving really, really fast, even though I'm not moving it. I can lower it down to stage 1, which makes my mouse move really, really, really slow. And then, of course, this is 1800 where I typically leave it. The reason why I'm pointing this out is there's additional setting on your computer. And again, we're talking about software and accuracy. So let's go to my settings. We'll go to PC settings. And this is the global cursor speed. So even though I have a software interface which controls my mouse is still governed by the overall global cursor speed set forth on my computer. So if I change this really fast, here, let's go ahead and change it. You see that mouse speed? Even though I didn't touch the Razer Death Adder software, this is moving really, really fast. So let's go ahead and turn it. See, this is moving really, really fast. I'm just barely moving it. And let's go ahead and move it down here. And now you can see the mouse is barely moving, and I'm moving it much harder than I was before. So reason why I pointed that out is you can see how the software can control the mouse speed. In this particular software, you have two different levels. You have the PC cursor, which governs the overall global capacity in terms of how fast the cursor can move. And then, of course, you have the direct software for the mouse. And again, this operates the same type of way with light guns like the Dolphin Bar, whatever type of emulator you're using. If you guys are using MAME 2003 or MAME 1. Advanced MAME 1.4, like on the Retropie 3B Plus, and then of course other emulators like TechnoParrot or whatever. I know I talked to Retro Lizard; he didn't have that problem when he set his light gun image for a coin ops a particular way, but I had this problem when I set up the send-in software originally, because if you guys watched my previous video, I had the send-in software, but I used it on 3 different monitors, and my accuracy, my mouse was a little off because of how surround gaming is. And for those of you guys who don't know what surround gaming is, that's when you have 3 different monitors set up. So you may not have that issue using one monitor, but I had that problem where I had to go in and adjust the global cursor speed in order to get better accuracy for my gun. So I just wanted to point that out there for you guys to let you know that there are some additional options out there to configure your mouse and so forth. And it's not just so much a plug and play experience when there's other different integers and forms, factors that you can factor in to improve your overall capability. But again, guys, I just wanted to put that notice of concern out there for those of you who may have concerns and give you guys a little bit more in-depth understanding about how some of these light gun technologies work. You know, even though they may promise to work on PC or Retropie or Linux, again, all of those are very vague and open-ended statements because they don't guarantee you or tell you which games you can play. Yes, they should work for that interface, but the ultimate decision and the ultimate outcome is, how does this piece of hardware react with a particular emulator? Which emulators do you need for a specific game? That is the ultimate question. It is not putting out a vague statement saying, hey, it works for PC and certain PC games won't respond to mouse movements as that Buck Hunter game does. Or maybe TechnoParrot operates a little differently with some of the other light guns. Or you need to use specific emulators to get a number of light gun games to work. Now, if you guys are interested in playing light gun games on the Pi 4, I do have Pistolera out there. It has about 179 to about 181 games. That's even more than some PC-based light gun images some people have put out. But again, guys, this is Keel Dyken. Just wanted to give you guys my overall thoughts and concerns about the whole understanding of light gun and light gun technology, because besides plugging it in and using the direct software, there are additional integers and variables that you can use within the emulators, which ultimately governs how that gun responds to the game that you're playing, which gives you the final performance and value of what you're purchasing. Consider subscribing to the channel. I hope you guys like this informative video. I will catch you guys later. Peace out. Bye bye.